Okay. Welcome to October coordinator meeting. I hope everybody's doing well. It's kind of crazy that it's the end of October, or kind of the end of October. I think my summer went crazy fast because of all the events I had going on in my personal family life. And then I just got a text from my son this morning. Apparently, he's going to propose on Saturday. So we're going to have another wedding, I think, I presume. So we'll have another wedding sooner rather than later. All right. So here's today's agenda, some announcements, and then updates for with our teams. Some of these I don't have updates for, but some I do. And then our next November meeting is scheduled for Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I don't work on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so we won't meet. And then the December meeting is scheduled on to happen on Christmas Day. So I want to come up with a different date for us to meet one more time before the end of the year, and we'll talk about that at the end of our meeting today. So as a reminder, we are participating in the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival again this year, and we need volunteers. We're recruiting earlier this year than we have in years past. I asked you at our August meeting to help have the names of at least 6 volunteers to me by October 15. And then we realized, well, that's kind of, the timing is kind of odd with that because you don't really know if your foundation program will be participating in the show because you haven't approved your budgets for 2025 yet. So I did get a couple names from a couple counties, so I appreciate those counties who were able to provide me with some interested volunteers. I know some of you are working on it and have said that you're behind. If you could please get these names to me by November 15th, that would really help us in filling out the shifts for the show. I know that even by November 15th, you may not have your budgets approved. So I'm just going to say if you're, you know, if the festival is in your budget, regardless of whether or not it's approved, please go ahead and recruit volunteers and send me names so we can fill in the slots. Hi, Amy, go ahead.
I just for those of us that don't have a foundation, is there any support from the statewide foundation for travel?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Let me visit with the state foundation president about that. But it's hard because I want to give all volunteers who are interested in volunteering at the festival to an opportunity to do so. But at this point, what has been our standard operating is that if your foundation supports, then volunteers from your program can participate. But I understand that limits participation, and I want to figure out how we can open that up. So Linda,
Okay.
your hand is up.
Thank you.
What costs are involved? Does the master gardener have to buy their own ticket, or?
The volunteers who volunteer at the show will get a pass for the day that they're volunteering.
Because I have a gal who has her parents over there and she's over there a lot, so she
Yeah.
might want to go.
Yeah. But so other costs would be travel and hotel and,
Okay.
lodging kind of thing.
But
And
okay,
whatever
thanks.
money they spend at the show, because it's really hard
Yeah.
not to spend money
Oh,
there.
I know.
Jennifer, I think it's important to note that particularly if there's not a foundation in the county, if you do have a workshop account, that could be used to support
Yep.
volunteers as well.
Yep. Thanks, Jenna. Any other questions about this? So please, by November 15th, and if you have more questions, feel free to email me.
Oh, can I ask a quick one?
Sure.
I know you're ready to move on. Is it our responsibility to make sure our foundations know of this, or has that already been shared with them in terms of the financial piece?
It's been shared with them via the state foundation, but I've also sent previous communications to coordinators and presidents at the same time. So it's a joint communication.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good question, Beth. Thank you. All right. A couple months ago, Kathy Lamoureux, who's our social media guru, realized that Facebook Meta made all accounts AI ready. That means that if a volunteer, or not a volunteer, if a community member goes onto your WSU Master Gardener Facebook page and asks a question, it could potentially be answered by AI. And Kathy thought that that was probably not the best for us, since the questions or the answers provided by AI may not necessarily be research based. So she went into ours and turned that off at both the foundation level and the program level. And she said to do that, you go into Meta Business Suite, and then click in settings. So this is the Meta Business Suite. I clicked into settings and couldn't figure it out, but maybe that's because she had already turned it off. Because she said Meta Business Suite, settings, and then pages, and you'll see a place where you can turn it off. She said it was really easy. I couldn't see it. So if you have follow-up questions to this and want to figure it out and can't, let's get in touch. And because I think for us, we should make sure that that's turned off. Annual certification. I know many of you have already launched your certification for this year. We did not meet in September, and so I sent out a couple of emails with information for you on how to get this going. And I just thought I'd remind you today and go through some points on why we're being, from the state level, so prescriptive about this. For one thing, we have to report race, ethnicity, and gender information to USDA and NEFA in a timely manner, and following this timeline allows us to meet those deadlines for USDA and NEFA reporting requirements. It helps you ensure that all of your certifications are complete before the holidays, so you can enjoy your time with family and friends, and you aren't trying to get those last-minute volunteers to certify. It will also provide us with a baseline picture of the diversity of our programs. We have a goal to increase that diversity. Unless we know what our current diversity is, we don't know if we're making any improvements there. One of the things that we added to this year's annual certification survey are age categories, so we can have a better baseline understanding of the age demographics of the volunteers who serve.
Nice, good question. So in Whatcom County, I'm getting on track with this, kind of doing it at the end of the year. I haven't always done it at the end of the year. So my question is, a lot of my MGs are wondering, it's recertification for the coming year to say, yes, I want to adhere by the guidelines for 2025. Doesn't mean that they're going to, right? So like, oh, I need to get in my 10 hours of continuing ed for 2024 so that I can be certified for 2025. There's just a lot of different questions that come up, and I provide clarity, but it always leads to confusion.
So I guess I don't follow
Okay, so sorry. The question would be, Yeah, let me rephrase that. We would be recertifying master gardeners for the coming year of 2025.
Yes.
But they haven't satisfied those requirements yet. So usually at the end of the year, they're trying to scramble to get all their hours in and their continuing ed credits up to date and give pulse so that they are deemed certified
Eligible,
or,
eligible
yeah,
for
eligible,
2025.
thank you.
Okay.
So I guess that's a timing thing. Are we asking for certificate that they want to recertify because there's hopes that they will satisfy the requirements in 2025? Or is it that, yes, you've satisfied the 2024 requirements, therefore you are still in good standing?
So
Am I
I think
complicating
I'm
it?
following. So in the survey, it's asking them to attest to the fact that they have completed the requirements in 2024.
Okay.
And are therefore eligible to maintain their certification in 2025.
Okay, thank you.
But just because they attest to it doesn't mean they have. And
Right,
in the
yeah.
training that YouTube training that I sent to everybody, there's a process for how to check to make sure that the hours that are entered in GitPulse actually meet the requirements.
Okay.
Did that answer it?
Yes, that helps. Thank
Okay.
you. Sorry, that was a confusing question, but that clears it up.
And I know that some volunteers, they'll because this says it should close, the annual certification should close by November 30th, but they should, are used to having the entire calendar year to complete their hours.
Mhm.
And I would say, if they're close, within an
Right.
hour or two of CE and they have a plan to complete that CE in December, then okay.
Yeah,
The larger counties don't allow that. They can't manage it, right?
Okay.
Counties with 3, 4, 5, 600 volunteers. So they've moved to sort of an 11-month year.
okay.
There's not a lot to do in December anyway, and we want our volunteers to take a break.
And our staff.
Yes, and the staff. And then the last thing is it provides you with plenty of lead time so that you as the staff, as the coordinator, can get that new roster out to volunteers early in the year, which is, they start looking for it pretty early in the year. They want it. They want to see who they can reach out to for 2025 work. Any other questions about this? Okay. I'll turn it over to Jana, but we've had a couple questions about the ET phone home. EP14, protection of safety and minors. So Jana's on and I'll turn it over to her to go through the details with you.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. I had a lot of questions about when is an event our event and when is it not our event. And primarily the way that I would answer this question to myself is, are we taking registration for the event? Are we responsible for making sure there's enough adults that the adult-child ratio is okay? And are we the ones that are gonna be the primary coordinator of youth behavior? So like Jennifer has on the slide, if in fact we're partnering with another youth agency, we're going into a classroom, we are hosting an event, but classrooms are coming to us, or after school clubs are coming to our event with their adult chaperones, it's really not a youth event. What we are doing is providing programming and curriculum activities for already existing groups of youth. I think we got a little confused, Jennifer, about the training piece. Our EP 14 does say if you are going to work with youth, and it doesn't say only at our events, but if you are going to be working with youth, you do need to complete the EP 14 training. We are not necessarily responsible for making sure all of the EP 14 guidelines are followed when it's not our event, but it's a good idea to at least go through that training so that they realize what the policies are in regards to adult to youth interactions and so forth. So if they're going to work with youth, they do need to do the training. During events, even if it's not our event, if it's our event, we're responsible for making sure all of the EP 14 policies are followed. During the event, though, if it's not our event, there's 2 times that I'm saying we should be on point, aware, and responsive. And that's if the situation is unsafe for youth, and that could be, we've got an example on the screen of, if kids are using your tools unsafely and their adult leaders are not enforcing them to use safety practices, then we probably need to, quote, take our toys and go home. But if you're in a situation in a classroom and there's other adults there, not ours, other adults there that you believe are engaging inappropriately with youth, you should really take it to administration. You should jump the head and say, hey, I need to talk to you about this. I've seen this happening. It is inappropriate, etc. And if you can't get a resolution on that, if you can't ensure that environment that you're going to be in is appropriate and safe, then we probably need to think about moving out of that program opportunity. Those are the only 2 times that I'm saying, if you think something's off and not appropriate and something funky's going on, you need to let somebody know that and perhaps remove yourself from that situation. The training, again, everybody should have gotten an email from me with a 2-page document that talks about how do you access the training. It's out on extension.org. The link is there at the bottom of the page. It shows your enrollment key for your volunteers to get into. The process for checking to see if people have completed the training is exactly the same. So that is a known quantity for those people that have done Put the Child First. I'm very glad to tell you that the renewal for that, we have a projected completion date on that, January 1. It's gone through multiple departments, people, experts. Oh, I don't have my camera on because I want you to see this. It's gone through a bunch of university close that off for the town hall. I wanted to make sure nobody could see me. Experts on youth adult interactions. So I am hoping that gets through the review process and that I am able to put it into a format that will be not as boring and or inappropriate for our volunteers. Real quick, I want to make 2 more comments, Jennifer. On GivePulse, please make sure that before you verify hours, that there are start and end times, and make sure that it's not where somebody put that they did something from 8 a.m. Monday till 4 p.m. Friday, that those hours are appropriately entered so that it doesn't look like we've just kept them working nonstop for 40 complete hours. So make sure you're doing that. I don't have a lot of issue with Master Gardener, so I appreciate you guys doing that. And then secondly, shortly after the first of the year, I've been asked to do an audit of background checks to make sure background checks are up to date with all programs. Remember, people can't recertify if their background checks are not complete. So They need to make sure that if their background check is expiring in November, they need to get that done and complete before you recertify them in December. So I will be doing that audit. If there are people that are out of compliance, I will let you know that right away. If you want to do group trainings on the volunteer training, the EP14 training, you may do that currently. I have not yet asked for permission. I'm going to try not to ask for permission on that. So if that changes, I'll let you know. Out in the all extension team site under EP14, there is a document to use to document that people have completed their training. So please, that they've done it in a group setting. So please make sure you get that done and get that turned in shortly after your group. Beth, as to is EP14 mandatory? Yes, it is. It is more mandatory than any of our extension policies, and it's university wide. So people
And
are
so,
going to,
a
yeah.
quick question then, so all the new incoming cohorts need to do EP training as opposed to put the child first training, or both?
No,
or-
they're two different things.
Okay,
EP14 is policies about how we run youth programming.
okay,
Put the child first is just letting them know about child abuse and neglect and the signs and symptoms. So EP14 is only required if they are going to be working with youth.
okay, so
Put
that
the
is,
child first is required for everyone.
okay. And then my other quick comment was, I sometimes have, you know, the need for Master Gardener volunteers to be better coached at how to really just even work with youth. So we're gonna try and work with our 4-H coordinator on some extended learning, because sometimes I have to redirect volunteers.
Right. And that's, and your 4-H
Yeah,
faculty and staff in your counties are well suited to do an overview. If you need more than what your local people can provide to you, you can get a hold of Mark. He's on Mark Heitzman. He's the interim director. He's on the call today. And he can help provide you with some resources to get that done.
oh, thank you so much.
The way that our 4-H volunteer training, the new proposal that's in, there will be a module for all extension folks that work with youth on how to work with, interact with, how to know the different developmental capabilities and skills of youth. Probably won't be, but maybe, Kelly's talking about, there is a statewide curriculum called Facilitate the Awesome that your volunteers could participate in, but there will be a module on working and interacting with youth. It could be up to 2 years before that's complete, depending upon the priority timeline. Any questions on youth programming, volunteer stuff, etc.? Okay.
Thank
Groovy.
you, Jenna.
Yep.
All right. So moving along, infrastructure updates. I think you know about the website migrations that counties are participating in. Every county is at a little bit different place. A team of Master Gardener folks have created, I'm going to call them page templates for websites for counties to use for their Master Gardener programs. Pierce County dove right in and got their website up and running. And Caitlin May shared some insights in August about how that process went for Pierce County. And she has a few more updates to share with you today. Caitlin.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think
Do you want me to
can I
stop
share
sharing?
my document real quick? So as Jennifer mentioned, I just had 3 additional pieces of information that we learned from our process that I thought might be helpful for coordinators who have not yet migrated or who might be in the process of migration. So these are the 3 things that I wanted to share. So these were kind of unanticipated issues. One was that our old homepage of our website was a search result for a few weeks. I think it might have been 2, maybe 3 weeks, but basically if someone Googled Pierce County Master Gardeners, they could find our old webpage. And I don't know if that's just because it lived on the back end and then eventually got deleted. I can't really explain why it was that way, but my advice there would be potentially to launch your website in a less high traffic time. So probably not right before you're trying to take new applications like we were doing. The second piece was that if you have a form on your website that is collecting any type of information, so for instance, we have a form of people, if they're interested throughout the year of applying, and then they want to be contacted when the application opens. We were taking that list and I downloaded the results of that list on, I think, July 30th. Our website kind of made the official switch over in mid-August. And so between that July 30th timeframe and when our website went live, I no longer had access to the people who would put their name on the list at that time. Efren was able to recover that list. But that's just kind of something to know, that if you do have information that you want to download, just let the Connors web team know, hey, before we make the switch, can I download this? They can give you a heads up before your website goes live. And then the last piece was that if you have QR codes printed on handouts, the Connors web team can set up redirects for you, but you need to be able to provide that information to them. So basically, we had a couple handouts that people could scan the QR code and it would take them to our old website. And I sent Efron an email. I have an example below. And I scanned the QR codes from our printed materials. You can see down here, I sent him two different materials. So I scanned that code and I said, this is the code where the QR code was taking people, and we basically need it to take them to this new page. So they were able to set that up for us in a matter of 2 days, which was awesome because we had these materials out at the fair. As long as you can provide that information, you can keep the printed materials that you have out in circulation, so you don't necessarily need to get them reprinted. And I sent this document to Jennifer as well, so if people want to look at it in more detail, she can send that out to you guys as well.
Thank you, Caitlin. I'll share this when I send the e-news.
Perfect.
Any questions for Caitlin? Okay. Also on the infrastructure side, the MS 365 SharePoint project is still underway. We've offered one-on-one meetings. You can come into our meetings and ask any kind of question that you want. We'll make sure to have the right people there. Send us an email if you would like to do that. The very first step in getting going is really just to get a domain. So far, and following the formula that we have here, so it would be countymg.org, example, SpokaneMG.org. So far, we have Stevens, Kittitas, Snohomish, Chelan Douglas, Mason, Jefferson, San Juan, Clallam, and Kitsap in various stages of adoption. If you're interested in learning more, go ahead and email us. Robbie, one of our team members, will be on our call in December, and he's going to walk through what this project is in a different way and give you a good feel for the benefits specifically for Master Gardener Program coordinators and the workload that it might entail for you to go down this path. Turning over to Tessa. Tessa, these are, I think, the diversity, equity, inclusion updates.
Yeah, just a few small updates. So we have been meeting and kind of evaluating our focus and what capacity we have as a team. And so we are currently deciding to focus on pursuing a few different options for making statewide standardized DEI trainings available to program coordinators to use with your volunteers. And then also working on tools that promote inclusivity in the program. So we updated the application at the beginning of this year, and then we're looking at beginning to develop a matrix for evaluating training applications that could be a resource for coordinators. That would be standardized across the state, potentially with some flexibility depending on how that discussion goes. And so I also just wanted to invite you to, if you have a any sort of matrix or scoring sheet, or however you decide which people to accept into your program, and which may not be as good of a fit. If you are up for sending that my way, I definitely, as a team, we'd love to have some examples of what people are using out there. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Tessa. Any questions for Tessa? All right. Beth, did you have a question? You're on mute if you are.
On mute. Hi, sorry, I have a quick question about that. So we're all kind of in the middle, or at least I am, of accepting new applicants, and I have 48 new applicants, which is great. And I don't really turn anyone away. It's like they self-select, right? So I'm curious if there's, maybe this isn't the time to ask, but why would we turn someone away under this DEI stuff?
Just county capacity. There are
Okay.
some counties who are not, I mean, they get like 200 or 300 applicants and can only
Gotcha.
train 100 people at a time, or
Okay,
that type
so
of
not
thing.
anything related to their diverse backgrounds or any of that. Okay,
No, it's about creating a tool to ensure that as much as possible there isn't bias in making
Right.
those selections for the counties that need to make them.
okay, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
a little bit me, even though I don't have 200, I do have more than I can probably handle. So that's helpful. Okay, so how to suss that out when you can't take them all? Okay, thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks, Beth.
And then Jennifer, there's a question in the chat, but I don't know if you want to answer that one. It's a civil rights one.
So yeah, no, don't send them anywhere. Those are the so the question, what do I do with the DEI last page of the applications I received? So that we'll report that in aggregate into the civil rights files that Kenitra created for us.
Okay,
So I'll add that back to our for our December meeting, and we'll review how to report all of that.
thank you.
Yep. But you keep those pages confidential, separate from, so that there's no identifying information on them.
Yeah, I removed them from the applications and they're just in a folder together.
Okay. All right. Just a reminder, there'll be no changes to the learning management system for spring 2025. Oh, this is kind of an old slide that I did not update. So we are still working with AOI on the LMS for spring 2026. Yeah, I should have updated this slide. So I will, before I go to the next slide, I'm in about 2026 training. I want to let you know that the training will be different in 2026. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to give you as much information as I have right now. And I ask you to listen with an open mind and think about the positive impacts that what I am going to share with you could have on our program. Consider how it could and will be better for us in the long run. And know that if we could continue on with the current training model and structure that we have right now, we would. It's not feasible for us to continue using the exact same structure and LMS that we have right now. And know that we spent months trying to come up with a plan using our current systems and model so that we would not have to change. And we were really unsuccessful with a plan that would allow us to maintain status quo. So in 2026, January 2026, or for our 2026 training season, we will be moving to a single course model. And here's why, and then I'll explain to you on the next slide what that looks like. So our current LMS, Canvas, is operated through the Academic Office of Innovation, AOI. We have a grandfathered MOU with them because we were the first extension program to have distance-based education through them, and our MOU is grandfathered. They will no longer allow us to continue on that MOU. The new MOUs are incredibly expensive and not feasible for us to, we can't afford it, basically. We would have to, the cost for training, I don't even know how much the cost for training would have to be, like $500 a student or something. And we've had continuing difficulty with recruiting top-notch speakers into the individual counties. The faculty and staff who do the training, they travel, you know, to meet those in-person obligations, or they teach via Zoom. And we know that we need to have a more of a hybridized approach where some of it's in Zoom and some of it's in person, to really make sure that our new volunteers are highly trained, competent, and engaged. The coordinator time constraints. I mean, one of the things that we talked about a lot during our July meeting was how your time is so incredibly overbooked. And that training is one of the things that takes up so much of your time. I spoke just a second ago, so new volunteers readiness to serve. We want to make sure that the volunteers that we train are, you know, trained well and are confident and competent, and feel good about the work that they do in the counties. We want to offer training to non-volunteers. Those folks that, remember when we did home horticulture. So it's just the folks who want the knowledge but don't necessarily want to volunteer. And then we need to be generating some revenue to support the Extension Master Gardener program at the state level and at the county level. So what does a single course model look like? Similar to home horticulture, we will offer the training to both volunteer learners and non-volunteer learners who will take the training all together at one time. That's still to be determined, but at one time. So every person in the state who wants to train will train at one time in a, you know, one time per year offering. Volunteer learners will attend in-person county-based labs, we're calling them labs, to learn about, you know, applying their new knowledge to being a volunteer and to build camaraderie. Again, this is really in alignment with building that cohesive statewide program of highly trained, competent, and engaged volunteers. So the non-volunteer learners and the volunteer learners will attend asynchronous or do the asynchronous modules, attend synchronous lectures offered at the state level. We'll offer them twice a week, one time in the evening, one time in the morning. We'll split up the east side, west side ones like we did for home horticulture. And then in the counties is where the volunteer learners will go for that in-person lab to really learn how to apply their new knowledge into being an extension master gardener volunteer and to build that camaraderie. So we don't have this fully figured out, right? We're working on it, but I want to make sure that keep you all in the loop. I know you've been waiting to hear. We are going to follow a model that's used at Colorado State, and it's been a very successful model, and it's called the Colorado Green School. And if you Google that, you'll be able to see kind of what they do. I even chatted with a couple of their local coordinators to learn more about it. And they were both, the ones that I chatted with were very skeptical in the beginning when Colorado went in this direction. And now those coordinators could not be happier. They've realized some benefits that they weren't really expecting. And those benefits include the speakers, like the top-notch speakers. We can get speakers out of the departments at WSU potentially. The speakers will not have to be traveling. Those speakers will be able to do their lectures, to everybody in the state all at once. So it will save our lecturers time as well. It will allow you as coordinators to focus on your current volunteers and mentoring new volunteers, focusing on continuing education or on those soft skills, maybe some of the things that Tessa was talking about or that Jana was talking about and Beth was, working with youth, and creating a welcoming culture. It will allow you to focus on the mechanical skills. What does it mean to really work in a clinic? How do you process a plant specimen through a clinic? What's the best? How do we communicate back with a client? Those types of things will be what the in-person labs are about. It allows for equitable application across the state. It's interesting, on the up and down the I-5 corridor, volunteers who live in one county or another, if they're on the border, or not volunteers, people who are interested in becoming volunteers who live on a county border, or even out on the peninsula, this happens too. They will apply in a different county because it's either easier for them to volunteer in that county, or it's less expensive for them to volunteer in that county because every county charges a different rate. And those rates are generally dependent on venue costs. So the venue costs are going to decrease for you. It will elevate readiness of the volunteer to serve, and the goal is to increase revenue to the county and to the state through this new program. Because we're going to open this up to non-volunteers, and they will pay quite a bit more money than the non-volunteers to get that education. So for you, county involvement, you'll be involved as much as you want to be in the annual planning. Tech support, volunteers can help with tech support. They did it home hort and it worked really, really well. Q&A, volunteers and coordinators can help with Q&A if that's what you want to do. That works really well. And the Q&A is really important in the Colorado Green School model. And then in the counties, you'll be responsible, you and volunteers will be responsible for those in-person labs and mentorship. So the timeline is in development. The goal is we're going to have this ready to go for that 2026 training year. And we have a lot to do between now and then, and we're going to be moving pretty quickly. We're working on a fee structure, defining the training months, defining what the processes will be, how do people register, how do people apply. The application will still go through the counties. You'll still be reviewing your application, still be reviewing, and supporting in that way. What are the communications that need to be shared? And we will hopefully have quite a bit more information to share with you in December at our next meeting. I'm sure you all have questions. Go ahead, Sarah.
I want to say I'm just really enthusiastic about this.
Yay.
Someone, I think Beth was asking, why do counties have to turn people away? And it's because we get more applications than we have slots. And it just goes against the grain. Our mission is to educate people, and we're having people like, I'll pay you $500 for you to educate me. And we're going, no, sorry, I'll walk away from that offer. So just from a mission point of view and opportunity point of view, it's very exciting. It is also the intern training draws all of the most talented plus available people in our program into being part of the intern training process. And I can just imagine what I can do with some of that energy if even part of it is unleashed towards other projects. We could circle back and pick up with all of the long-term master gardeners and help them get on the same platform with the interns so that everybody has the same basic, understanding of the program. And we don't have those disconnects between when you join the program is what you know. So for me, there's exciting opportunities to kind of redeploy a lot of our talent, and I'm excited and glad we're doing it.
Thanks, Sarah. It's great to hear.
I love this idea. I think we should move full speed ahead.
Thanks, Patty. I saw your note in the chat. I copied your timeline idea there. Go ahead, Linda.
Having been there to see the Colorado Green School presentation, I am fully on board. It was impressive.
Great. Thanks, Linda.
Yeah.
Tim?
I just want to echo the enthusiasm for this. I have volunteers who were part of the home horticulture training in 2021, and they are still asking me, when do we get to do this again? When do we get to help out? When do we? So I'm excited to be able to involve them, and they felt a lot of rapport when we were doing it statewide with volunteers from other counties that after that has kind of diminished a little bit. So I'm excited for this.
Thanks, Tim. This is amazing. I was not expecting this. Okay, Amy.
I actually do. I think it's a good idea too, and will make our lives a little bit easier and bring some extra value to the in-person classes. And but I do wonder if there might be, if we want to consider having an opportunity for our existing volunteers to attend some of the lectures either for free or low cost. within the system, because that's what we do now. For we do our training every other year, and our existing volunteers are allowed to attend the trainings as they're continuing education. So that's just a thought that we might want to
Yeah, that's
consider.
exactly. I think that's what Sarah was leading on about, bringing our current volunteers up to speed. So being able to offer this new training to current volunteers for CE, it'll need to be at a reduced rate. I don't think we can do it for free. But at a reduced rate will be, definitely an option that we will continue to look at for offering. And I don't, at this point, don't see why we can't, but like I said, there's still a lot of work to be done here. So thanks, Amy. And I see Kelly says it will help out small counties. Beth, Michigan, yes, I knew Michigan does statewide. Oregon is still county by county. Wendy says she loves it. And we need a name for this program. Is it too soon to solicit naming ideas? If you have a great idea for a name that is catchy and easily marketable and, just rolls off the tongue, let me know. I mean, I'd love to have some ideas. We have tons of ideas, but nothing's really going. You know how when you have an idea and you're like, yes, that's it. We haven't felt that yet. So need a name. All right. There was a question about rolling enrollment model. I really doubt it. That's not the direction we're going right now. But nothing's off the table, but I think we're going to start with with a non-rolling enrollment model. In the future, though, it may be something that we can consider. I don't know. Okay. So we'll keep you posted.
If nothing else, I can just imagine, like, if we had another many hundred people statewide who knew this information, even if they weren't volunteers, they're going to be giving better plant advice. People are going to ask them stuff, and they're going to be giving more likely university researched, non-biased plant advice. So
Absolutely, which is our whole purpose, right, Sarah? Yep. Okay. So on the right-hand side of your screen is a sneak peek at what the new manual will look like. So you'll notice that this is the veggie chapter, and this is going to be an EPUB. So it's not going to be available in print form. It will be an EPUB. We're moving into I don't know, what is this? What century is this? we're bringing ourselves up into modern times in terms of distance education. So the tabs will be clickable, and they indicate sort of which the chapters that are, along either before or after. The publications team hopes to have this available in early 2025. We've been working diligently to remove mentions of Master Gardener throughout, unless it makes sense in the context of the chapter, because we're going to use this same manual for training non-volunteer learners. And this manual is called PNW Gardener's Handbook, Growing for the Future. And we sought feedback from you a few months ago on that. Module development is underway for the new modules, the new online training. We have developers for nearly every chapter, but are still in need, and I'm going to turn it over to Bryce Bryce. Are you there, Bryce?
I'm here.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, that was unexpected. So yeah, the main one that we still don't have anybody that is even remotely willing to cover is the greenhouse module. There are several chapters where there are people that are saying, yeah, I can probably do it, and check back with me later, and or some people that have said, yeah, I'll cover 3 chapters, and later that turns out to be a little bit too much to have taken on. But the greenhouse chapter is one that we just don't have anything for. We reached out to WSU. There's a person there that does, you just sort of teaches horticulture and manages greenhouses. And that person said, no, I don't have the time to do it. So if you know anyone in any of your areas, any of your volunteers that are greenhouse management experts, that would be great. It's not just about like, how do you raise a plant in a greenhouse? It's much more about the physical structure of the greenhouse and how do you plan one? How do you build one? What are the different types? Why would you need one? Where would you get started? What are the resources? What are the design considerations? So that's the main one we're still looking for.
Sorry, Bryce, are you looking for written content or for delivery of a lecture?
Okay, I kind of jumped into that without mentioning. Yeah. So the chapter is written and reviewed and final. And my big task over the last kind of 6 months has been reaching out to people who would be willing to develop the module content for that chapter. And the main things are up to 10 minutes worth of video on chapter topics that they think would be really good to show on video, plus a PowerPoint presentation that covers the entire chapter in the order that the chapter happens, so that someone can basically watch a chapter overview. And that's like a narrated PowerPoint.
Thank you. I see it on the slide now. So it's right in front of us. Thank you.
Would it be okay if it was somebody from OSU?
I don't know, Jennifer.
Well, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, would it be okay if it was somebody from OSU?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Or would they be compensated? Yeah.
Potentially, we're not compensating our internal faculty who are working on this, but potentially out externally.
Okay. I might have somebody in mind, but I'll reach out to them.
Okay, great.
See.
Thanks, Amy.
The other one that we have that is Jim Kropp will have to do it if nobody else can do it, and he said he would, but is vertebrate pest management. So the deer and the rats and the gophers and all that sort of thing, we don't have a person to cover that chapter.
This is Mary Snohomish. I wonder if Dave Paling, he's a retired.
Well, that's why we're.
He won't.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the chapter authors have retired or moved on, or passed on, and so or yeah, don't have the time to do it, and so we're looking for other people to kind of summarize their chapter for us.
Great. Sorry, Bryce, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I had a note that we had talked about this, and that's why I added it on, but sorry.
No problem. I'm happy to do it anytime.
Okay. I think we're getting to the end of our time, 2 o'clock. So switching over to professional development, I just want to remind you that Percipio is there for you. And then the Extension Master Gardener National Committee has every other month webinars. And the one that was just recent was on generational differences. It was fantastic, fantastic. And so in the e-news, I will share the link to this for you so you can click right into it. I'm going to share this with volunteers tomorrow for staying mission driven and offer them an hour of CE for it. I think it would be a fantastic opportunity for coordinators and volunteers alike. And backing up to the new 2026 training model, I'm not saying anything to volunteers yet on that.
Can I ask a general question?
Sure.
So I am this year is the first year I'm gonna open up I have my applicants, and normally I kind of just do my internal review of them. And this is the first year where I'm actually have a small committee of volunteers that are gonna help review those. And I know you've provided good guidance on kind of the sideboards of that. And I'm gonna use that, but I just wondered if others are doing that, and we can talk offline to get more help, but are others using volunteers to review applications in a committee setting?
Yeah, I know, yeah, other counties do, I know.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's
okay,
normal.
King County does.
okay, well, maybe I'll reach out to you, Sarah, and just pick your brain a little bit.
I would
about-
love that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and since I put this in here because I wasn't sure you know, if we'd have time to get to it or not, but whoops, I'm going the wrong way. I do have some telling our story updates, but they can wait until December. This isn't anything that we have to do right now. But some good data from our short-term evaluations, and we're waiting on responses back for the midterm evaluations. So I think our 2024 report is going to look pretty amazing. I'm excited about that. And then planning for 2025. So we can look at that in the December meeting, which I'm wondering if Wednesday, December 11th, the second Wednesday of the month, would catch most of you. So we have one more meeting before the end of the year. So can we make that work? Okay, Amy says, yeah, I saw Bryce says, okay. Sarah's good. People are putting it in the chat, I guess, yeah. Okay, looks like most people say yes. So I'll go ahead and I'll cancel our November meeting, so you'll get that. And I'll move the December meeting to the 11th, so that gets moved on your calendars. Anything for the good of the group? Well, thank you for your enthusiasm about the new training model. That helps me a lot. I have to say I was nervous about sharing that with you. I'm sure that there are some of you who are like, not so sure. And if you are one of those people and you want to chat with me, please reach out. I'd be more than happy to visit with you about it. And I would like to visit with you about it so that I hear from you and can hopefully you know, incorporate some of your concerns into the new training so that they're no longer concerns. All right. See you on December 11th for our next program coordinator meeting, probably well before that though. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks,
Thank
Jennifer.
you.